this meeting, and we can sharing of experience and information. Okay, thank you. Now you can, Mr. Mills, Mr. Mills, you can talk about Dr. Patrick, and you're welcome.
Thank you very much. Madam, I didn't get your name though. Your name is what?
Our chief.
Our Teeth. Thank you very much, Our Teeth. Nice meeting you
Yes.
right here.
Thank
And of
you.
course, Major Patrick. I didn't know
Yes.
you're in Busia there. It must be a bit hot, apparently,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, it's all good.
Okay.
Yes. Now,
Yes.
I allow me, gentlemen and ladies, to have a bit of highlight, a short bio about Patrick Musibi, a retired major, who he is briefly before we take over. By the way, this is a reminder that this is strictly this webinar is strictly 1 hour, so that should be like about 45 minutes. We'll have Dr. Yusuf coming through, then later on our key speaker. Then after that, we can have a few AOBs before we call it a day. But briefly, I will take you through who Major Patrick Musibi, a little bit of his short bio. Like I said, he's a practitioner school in military transition, specifically working on release and reintegration of children associated with armed forces and armed groups. That's the CAFAG, the broader area of children and armed conflict on the socio-economic reintegration of military veterans. Major Msibi served with the UNICEF Operation Lifeline Sudan from 1999 to 2000 as a resident project officer in Barahel, Gazir region of then the Republic of Sudan. During this tour of duty, he came face to face with the phenomenon of child soldiers, with a very strong belief that the word child and soldier should never be spoken in the same breath. From that point on, he dedicated all his life to stopping and recruitment and the use of children as soldiers, and the release and the reintegration for those found among the rank and file of armed forces and armed groups. Following the release of the UN Security Council resolution, that's 1261 of 1999, which mandated the training of military personnel proceeding on peacekeeping mission to train on child rights and child protection. Major Musibi, a decorated and retired military officer, partnered to save the child Sweden to train militaries in the Eastern and Central Africa on child rights and child protection, and has supported the development of training manuals on the same. From 2004 to 2005, Major Musibi served with the ACT Caritas Darfur emergency response operation and was actively involved with the sensitization of the armed groups involved with Darfur crisis.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Millis, and again, thank you for joining us. We are pleased
But I
to
think
have.
Awatif, I think he has issue with his
UNICEF Cameroon
It's
as
communication.
not.
child.
It's not finished.
I'm sorry?
You continue. You are just off
Okay.
for a minute. Continue.
Okay. Now, from 2018 to 2023, Major Patrick served with UNICEF Cameroon as a child protection and emergency specialist, supporting UNICEF child protection interventions in the. You kind of need to mute, madam. Your sound has a feedback. Sorry about that. Just a minute. I think someone needs to mute. I keep on getting feedback. I think, madam. Okay. Between 2018 to 2023, are we there, guys? Are we together?
Yes.
Yes, yes,
Hello.
Yes, we are together. Continue.
yes, yes.
Hello.
Go ahead. Well,
Can you hear me?
yeah,
Yes, we hear you.
well and clear. Just go ahead.
Hello.
Hello, you go ahead. Go ahead. We're hearing you.
Hello.
Yes.
Can
Hello.
you hear me?
Yes. You continue.
Doctor,
Yes, we are hearing you loud and clear.
I
Please
seem not
continue.
to. Let me see. My voice is really low. Can you hear me there?
Yeah,
Yes, we
it's
can hear
clear.
you.
Maybe you have an
Let
issue
me. I
on
think I
your,
need to. Oh. Okay.
yeah, your voice. Just go ahead.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much. I was saying, the lady has to mute. She keeps on her voice coming through. Okay. Like we were saying, from we talk still about the bio, 2018 to 2023. Major Patrick served with the UNICEF Cameroon as the Child Protection in Emergency Specialist, supporting UNICEF's child protection intervention in the Algraphone crisis. During the services, he highlighted the recruitment and use of children by the armed groups which resulted into Cameroon becoming a situation of concern for the UN Security Council's children and armed conflict agenda, as well as putting in place a monitoring and reporting mechanism for the 6 grave violation against children in situations of armed conflict, as mandated by the UN Security Council resolution, that's 1615 of 2005. Now, lastly, from 2023 to 2024, he served with UNICEF Uganda as the child protection specialist, where he led the country's child protection response in public health, natural disasters, and armed conflict on the country's western border with the Democratic Republic of Congo. He retired from United Nations and is now a socio-economic reintegration consultant dedicated to bridging the gap between conflict and sustainable peace. With a focus on the life cycle of reintegration, he designs and implements the framework that transitions youth formerly associated with the armed forces and armed groups, as well as military veterans, into productive members of their communities. His work is underpinned by the belief that former combatants are not just survivors of conflicts, but essential catalysts for local development and social cohesion. By aligning individual integration with broader socio-economic goals, he ensures that the transition from military to civilian life is both permanent and prosperous. He serves as the subject matter expert on children and armed conflict for the International Peace Support Training Center, a peace support operation training facility of Kenya Defense Forces. Major Patrick Musibi holds a bachelor's degree in development studies from the Chimege Development Studies Center, Ireland, and a master's in international studies with the University of San Francisco in the USA. That's the United States of America. For the undergraduate degree, he researched on the challenges facing ex-child combatants in their efforts to reintegrate back into their communities. For his graduate degree, he researched on cooperative as a viable reintegration strategy of military veterans. Now, that's a little bit of that huge bio about our brother, Major Patrick. What a man. What a guy. I would want to be in his shoes at one point and and be with all this at the background. Very interesting there from our brother. Very, very rich knowledge. We are glad to have a scholar, a man who is connected here and there, a man who knows what he's talking about. And ladies and gentlemen, before we get to do our keynote speaker, I would like to call Dr. Adib Yusuf to briefly give us his remarks before we get into our key note speaker today. Thank you. Dr. Yusuf?
Yeah, thank you, Miles, and indeed, Brother Patrick, for accepting this invitation to talk to us about the child soldier and the challenges and opportunities for taking them out of where they are today and create a bright future for them. That is not only in Sudan but also in other countries as a theme. We organize this as people to people organization, and people to people is human right and humanitarian and development organizations that focus on different thematic areas. We are focusing on issues related to civic education and peace building, with focus on transitional justice. We are focusing on human right and conflict prevention. We are addressing issues of emergency and relief. We are addressing issues of vocational training and livelihood. We are addressing issues of women and youth empowerment. We are also engaged in addressing issues of environmental degradation. And lastly, we are focusing in peace processes in with the broader theme. We focus on transitional justice, and this issue of child soldier, it comes in different, it's cross-cutting issue within our thematic areas that we are dealing with. It is within our education, civic education system, on human rights and conflict prevention, and also on youth empowerment. Those are the three thematic areas that this topic today fits in. I'm very delighted to have Patrick speaking to us about this. He's a brother with whom I work for some time back in Darfur in the US when he was doing his master degree, and I think there's something missed in his bio, the period or the time that he spent in South Sudan for the second time after his graduation from University of San Francisco. I missed that part. So Patrick, you are very welcome. This event will be managed by our sister Awatif Ishaq, whom she will come after you speak to moderate and on the section of Q and A. Thank you so much, and we are very delighted to have you this evening. Thank you.
Uh, okay. Thank you, Dr. Adib, and thank you, Dr. Patrick, and thank you, Mills, for this introduction about Dr. Patrick. It is rich of knowledge, of course, and I want to say thank you for joining us. We are blessed to have you with us as we discuss the challenges of child recruitment. This is its impact on children and communities. Also, and the effort needed to support affect children and help them. We look forward to meaningful, productive discussion, and we encourage you active participation and sharing to experience and many things we need with us. Thank you for being here and welcome once again. Mr. Patrick, you welcome. You can start.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Thank you, Dr. Adib. Thank you, participants. It is a great pleasure to join you this evening. I've been asked to look at the issue of child soldiers with specific reference to Sudan. But I want to backpedal a little bit and just talk about the general area of child recruitment, release, and reintegration, and then we can come in and zero in on what will be expected of us when we are dealing with the issue of the current conflict in Sudan. When you look at the issue of child soldier recruitment and use in the current conflict in the Sudan, it represents one of the most protracted child protection crises in modern history. The practice spans decades, shifting from the liberation struggles of the 20th century to the brutal factional power struggles defining the current conflict, which broke out in April of 2023. Sudan has been riddled with conflict since its first civil war that started in 1955, just before independence, when we had a clash between the North and the South. Then this civil war raged until 1972, when the Addis Ababa Peace Accords were signed. We then had relative peace for almost a decade, from 1972 to 16th of May, 1983, when the second civil war erupted, and again hitting the southern part of the country against the northern. As this was going on 26th of February 2003, we had the Darfur crisis starting. I was drawn into the crisis by when I joined Darfur Act Caritas Darfur Emergency Response Operation in November of 2004. Now, on 9th of January 2005, we had a comprehensive peace agreement that was signed between the government of Sudan and the Sudan People's Liberation Movement, which brought an end to the second civil war. In 2009, a referendum was held, and eventually on the 9th of July 2011, the Republic of South Sudan was born. Across all these conflicts, the issue of child soldiers has been present, and I encountered my first child soldier face to face, not as a combatant, but as a humanitarian worker, when I was deployed by UNICEF Operation Lifeline Sudan to become the resident project officer in a place called Mapel in Bar Ghazal region of southern Sudan, then, because Sudan was still one country. As Dr. Adib has mentioned, when I graduated from the University of San Francisco in 2013, in 2015, I joined UNICEF South Sudan Country Office, specifically as a child protection specialist responsible for children associated with armed forces and armed groups. And at that particular time, I was specifically working on the release and reintegration of children associated with the Cobra faction of it was called Commander David Yau Yau, which had signed an agreement with the government of South Sudan, and now the forces were being integrated. So we took that opportunity within UNICEF and the National DDR Commission to be present at every point where the integration was taking place, and then we would take out the children who are associated with the David Yau Yau Cobra faction, and then start working with them in terms of release and reintegration. At the same time, also, we still had quite a number of children who were associated with the government army, at that time, the Sudan People's Liberation Army, which eventually became the South Sudan People's Defense Forces. I had also earlier in 2011 gone into South Sudan to train the SPLA in setting up child protection units within the hierarchy of the army. The thing is that I'm bringing all this around Because when it comes to preventing recruitment, the first thing that you have to do is you have to sensitize the potential recruiters to understand that it is not correct to recruit children. So you have to go to the national armies, but also at the same time, the biggest recruiters of children are actually armed groups. So you have to find ways and means of being able to reach out to them and sensitize them on this. Unfortunately, I have not had the opportunity to specifically go face to face with an armed group that is yet to sign a peace agreement with the government. When we were working with the Cobra faction, they were already having an agreement with the government. So it was very easy for us to go to them and discuss about this. But going to an armed group that has not signed any peace agreement, that one is a little bit tricky, but we also have people like Geneva Call who have established a way of being able to reach out to armed groups, and also, of course, the International Committee of the Red Cross, who also have a mandate on the training of militaries in terms of the Geneva Conventions for the law of armed conflict. So when we are talking about Sudan, we are looking at, first of all, what has happened in the first and second civil wars, but also when the first crisis in Darfur that started in 2003, we had the Sudan Liberation Army, we had Justice and Equality Movement, and a number of other groups that were involved in this particular conflict. Again, we saw there were children amongst their ranks, and as much as the Darfur Emergency Response Operation, which was not a UN operation, it was an NGO operation led by the Norwegian Church Aid, and ACT is Action by Churches Together, and Caritas is Caritas Internationalis, which is a Catholic relief and development or humanitarian and development organization. So the two, Protestant, Christian, and Catholics, came together to respond jointly in the crisis in Darfur. So what we could do is pass information on to armed groups to tell them it is not right to recruit children. But the mandate was still with, at that time, it was UNAMID, which was the UN, the joint UN African Union mission that was deployed in Darfur. Also, I want to look at the issue of why children are recruited. The thing is, there are certain protective environments that protect children away from being enticed into joining the armed forces and armed groups. The first thing is education. If education collapses, there is a protective ring that is removed around a child. And then that child becomes very, very vulnerable to be recruited by armed forces and armed groups. The other thing is in terms of birth registration, because the UN defines a child as any human being below the age of 18. Okay? How do you know if a child is one is a child or one is an adult? The cutoff is that age of 18. But how do you know whether that child is 18? The only authoritative document that can tell the age of a child is a birth certificate. So birth registration becomes very, very important if we are going to prevent the recruitment and use of children. Because if we then find a child within the rank and file of an armed group, and we can prove that that child is a child, then we have international legal frameworks that can actually be used to prosecute the leadership of that group for recruitment and use of children. And if we remember very well, there was a gentleman by the name of Thomas Lubanga in DR Congo, who was at The Hague facing charges of recruiting and using children, and he was actually found guilty and sentenced. So that was a very, very important step in terms of preventing the recruitment and use of children. We also remember the case of, what was his first name? Mr. Ongwen, who used to be with the Lord's Resistance Army and ended up at The Hague on same types of charges. And now Ongwen was a little bit, the Ongwen case was a little bit complicated, because in the first instance, Ongwen himself was recruited as a child and then rose in the ranks of the LRA until he became like the deputy commander. So now here he is at The Hague, and the question is, should he be charged looking at the fact that the system failed to protect his recruitment in the first place, and he ended up becoming the kind of, let's call it, a monster, because of the kind of things that he did were not very, very nice. Eventually, he got sentenced. So as this kind of information now leaks out to armed groups, they know that at some point in time, it does not matter how long, accountability will be required of them. So that becomes a kind of a deterrent. If we have schools functioning and children are at school, it's very difficult for you to recruit them because they have other things that they're engaged in. So they're not just lying around idle where somebody can come and approach them. There's also the issue of the economic environment in which this child is existing. Like the conflict in Sudan have actually led to a lot of poverty amongst communities. So you find that when there is this kind of depressed economic environment, and children, don't have anything to turn to, you will find that it becomes very easy for them to be enticed to join armed groups. One, for survival, and two, for protection. So if we can deal with the issue of vocational training as well as improving in economic opportunities, then there will be no reason for children to want to join armed groups. The thing is, once you have worked on the issue of prevention of recruitment, but before we did this, there are children who already joined. So we failed to prevent their recruitment. So that's how people like Dominic Ongwen ended up recruited into the Lord's Resistance Army, because the protective system around him broke and he was able to go into the armed groups. So to release children from armed groups or armed forces, you have to go to them, you have to go to the leadership of the armed forces, the leadership of the armed groups, and raise the issue with them. So that requires a lot of, what can we call it, diplomacy. At the same time, we need to have some form of structures that have been put in place. So on one hand, we have the UN. On one hand, we have ICRC. And on one hand, we have Geneva Call. Between these three organizations, it is possible to reach out to armed forces and armed groups who have recruited children and engage in a dialogue for them to release the children. Now, for example, as we were doing the release of children associated with the Cobra faction in South Sudan, there were children within the ranks of the Sudan People's Liberation Army. So at that particular time, because we had already done the training in 2011, and we had the child protection structures within the SPLA, it was very easy to go through these established units and access military units where we felt that there were children, and talk with the local commanding officer, will raise the case with that commanding officer, and backed up by the head of child protection at SPLA headquarters, we were able to release children who are still within the Sudan People's Liberation Army. So it is very important that we have this open dialogue between as the humanitarian actors and the armed forces and the armed groups that are recruiting these children, and talking to them to ensure that the children can be released from their ranks, and at the same time, make sure that they are never recruited again. So these are some of the challenges that we have when we are talking about releasing children who have already been recruited. Now, we come to the issue of reintegration. Release is an event. You go, you talk to the commanders, the child is released. What are you going to do with this child? You have to do a lot in terms of reintegration. And reintegration, therefore, is not an event. It is a process. Step by step, you get the child. The first place you want to do is establish a kind of an interim care center where this child is put. While there, you have to do several things. One, look at the mental health and psychosocial support needs of the child. Because while in the armed group, this child experienced things that his brain or his mind had not developed to a point where they could be processed successfully. So there's the element of psychosocial support that the child needs. There's also a need to look at the child's health needs. You will find some children with bullets that are lodged in their bodies. The bullets are there. Okay, a child has been maimed. He needs surgical attention. So the health of the child is looked at and provided as quickly as possible. Then the other thing is, you find one child is recruited in, let's say, in El Janina, and the child is being released, let's say, in Nyala. Okay, that's quite some distance. So the first thing we have to do is trace the family of this child. Where is it? So family tracing becomes a very, very important step towards the reintegration of these children back into their communities. When we establish the family, we confirm that this is the family of this child who has been released. We also have to look at the circumstances of the family circumstances. You may find that the family is so poor that when you are adding another mouth to that family, it brings a lot of economic stress to the family. So do we say that family is too poor, therefore the child cannot go back home? No, 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 no. What we do is find out if we can empower the family economically to be able to take on this child when he or she comes back to the family. Also, what we were doing in South Sudan was working with World Food Program. We would get a ration of food that the child would carry home with to last him or her and the family, because you need the number of people in the family, will give them enough supplies of food to last them 3 months. Why 3 months? Because that was roughly the time it took, because when you plant your own foods, there are certain foods that will be ready within that 3-month period. So we covered the gap. And what were you going to plant? We also worked with FAO, the Food and Agricultural Organization of the UN, to provide seeds and tools to that family, so that when the child is going back with seeds, going back with the tools, which then empowers the family to start doing some cultivation and growing of their own food. Also, as part of economic empowerment, we'll give out goats or sheep and some chicken, okay? So that when the child got home, they would raise the chicken. The chicken may give them eggs, which they could sell, or sometimes they could also sell the chickens that were produced by these initial breeding stock that we provided to the child. The other thing is, when you go to do reintegration, you do not just target the children who have been released from the armed forces or armed groups. You also have to look at the children and youth within the community, because they are facing the same challenges. So if you do not support them, the likelihood that they say, if I join the armed group, when I'm released, I will get support. But if I just sit here, I'm not getting any support. What have you done? You have just promoted recruitment of children. So when you go into a community, you register all children who are vulnerable in that community, so that when you are putting up interventions, they are covering both those who are recruited and those who are not recruited. That way you prevent recruitment of children. There's also the element of re-recruitment. And we had quite a number of these when I was working in South Sudan. And the issue was where the child got home, but the situation at home was so bad that even whatever the little we're trying to do in terms of economic empowerment was not as good as what that child was experiencing when serving with the armed group. So what happened? They sneaked back to the armed group. So on quite a number of occasions, we had to go back to commanders and say, we got this information that this child left home and is back in your ranks. And the commanders were very, very open they would look for the child, and we would sit down and talk, and then we say, okay, you can go with the child. So when we just talking about reintegration, and we think of it as just marking a box that an activity has taken place, then we'll miss the mark. Reintegration is a process and needs a lot of resources. So if I am reintegrating 2,000 child soldiers who have been released, we always say go 1+1. So in the community, also take another 2,000, bring them together. Now you are dealing with 4,000 children that you have got to reintegrate. Then you find that the cost of reintegrating just one child can go as high as $2,000, $3,000. So you have 4,000 children that you need to reintegrate. You need so many millions of dollars in doing that. So a lot of donors shy away from the bit of reintegration because it's a long-term process, and the results are not very quickly seen. So we have to do our best to ensure that we mobilize resources so that the children get the support of a minimum of 3 years. If I had all the resources and I was just working fully in reintegration, 5 years would be a better timeline to ensure that this child is now fully integrated in the community and has become a useful member of that community. So those are the challenges that are facing us. So now in the situation of Sudan, we have the rapid support forces, the children who have been seen associated with the rapid support forces. We also have children who are associated with the Sudanese armed forces and the allies. Now, do we say that we're now going to sit and wait until there is a peace agreement signed between the Sudanese armed forces and the rapid support forces? No. We have to go to both parties and work with them to release any children who are in their ranks. So we do not have to wait for a peace agreement for us to release children. Children have to be released at any one given time once they have been identified. But to do that, you need the collaboration of the leadership of the armed forces, or the armed groups that are recruiting these children. Now, when we are talking with them, usually we are not talking to them in a vacuum. We have legal frameworks that we use to discuss with the leadership of the armed actors. We have the Geneva Conventions of 1949. We also have the additional protocol number 2 of 1977, which is an additional protocol to the Geneva Conventions. We also have the Rome Statute of the International Criminal Court, and we also have the optional protocol to the Convention on the Rights of the Child on the involvement of children in armed conflicts. The optional protocol says for one to engage in active combat, they have to be at least 18 years old. So if you have these frameworks, and currently Sudan is a signatory to all these legal frameworks. So it's just asking the leadership to do what? To live by their obligations according to international legal frameworks. Lastly, I would like just to point out that there are certain issues that we need to look at when we are dealing with the issue of reintegration. You have to look at, we always think of child soldiers as just boys, but you'll find that there are also girls that are within the ranks of the armed groups. So girls require certain, they have certain needs that are not the same with boys. So you have to put on the gender lens when you are doing this kind of work, and ensure that, because this is something that is long term, integrate reintegration interventions within the broader community development, so that this reintegration can become part and parcel of the community's development. I will end there. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Doctor. Rather, Major Patrick, what an insight. We appreciate you. We actually believe that time has not been with us on your side because you had prepared a lot for us. We are sure probably next time we'll have better, much more time, because you have a lot we can learn from you. You have a lot of things that we need to learn from you, sir. We believe that anytime you can have some time for us, maybe you can come through. Guys, I think that's about it. Can I give like maybe a minute? Sylvia, you want to say a word before I call this off? Sylvia, our colleague, anything?
Okay,
Hello?
thank you, Miles
Hello?
and
Yes.
everyone. Happy to be part of this. Great learning, quite challenging to us who have the ability and capacity to support these children, and who continue to pray that together and with other teams, we can do a significant job to support these children. Thank you so much, Patrick, and everyone who is logged on. Bye for now.
Hello?
Thank you very much.
Hello?
Doctor, you just a minute. Anything from
Yeah,
you?
we can hand it to what if maybe some of the of the participants they have questions, and yeah, so we can run into this Q and A, and what if she can take care of this.
Okay. Guys, anyone
Okay.
with a question, one or two, we before we get off?
Okay, Dr. Adif, he said that we will just wait until Awati finish and then we can interact, okay? So it is okay. I can wait. I can wait until Awati finish.
I
I don't know
don't
whether
know. I
Doctor.
Okay.
think yeah, what
Yes,
if you
I'm
can
here.
take, yeah, you can see if the participant have questions or comments,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
suggestions, and so yeah. So maybe
Uh,
participant can raise their hands. I see Khalili has a question.
okay. I'm not seeing here hands up, but
Can I intervene?
okay. You will
Okay,
come, Siddiq.
okay, my
Khalil
name is,
also.
yes, okay. Oh, Awati, yes, my name is Khalil Tukras. I'm
Yes,
glad
sir.
to have this meeting. And thanks for Colonel Patrick and Mr. Adib and the NAS people to people organization for organizing this meeting. This for me, I think that the main speaker he covered most of the issues and he addressed it based on his experience on the ground and his academic professional. But just I want to have two or three comments on the situation of Sudan. If we look at the child recruitment in Sudan, it is a unique situation. It's not like the others. If you look at it is started from the border gap. If you look at the border gap experience, And the border guard is the mother of the RSF, by the way. So the border guard experience when it's come and then the government started this border guard militia to defeat the rebels in Darfur. They start recruiting child, even newborn kids. It is not just that they are coming for like the other rebel group who come and just take kids and then recruit them. No, this is what an organized one, and it is like a new income for the community themselves. So the government, to get the support of the community, they will come to the families and then ask them that, okay, how much kids you have? They give them a list, even girl, boys, whatever, 2 years, 1 year, even the women and the elders. So they give them a list of the people and will get they pay them salary. So that is to create that even the kids, because they need that salary and they want to be there, they left the school. If you look at the RSF period, the school were there, but kids they are moving. When no, not RSF, border guard. When RSF come, the government start sending people to Yemen. That is fighting between Saudi Arabia and whatever it is. So it has become like a main income resources. Kids, because the family, they send their kids. They send them, okay, go and then bring money. So they move because that recruitment for RSF in Yemen war, it was an alliance and it is a tribal issue. They go there and they bring the money. That is the area that it's continue until it's come to the 15 April war. That is, and then it's come like a social mobilization for the community and tribal issue. So it is difficult for anyone that to try to stop recruitment of child nowadays because RSF it is not an official army that you can come and talk to their commanders because whatever it is alliance of tribal alliance. You say that tribe A, it will bring on the people and then they have their group and their commander. So if say that whatever tribe A, it's have their own commander and have their groups and then they have their own. So within that, kids, they will come because you don't know that 3 years of war, there is no school, nothing. So kids, they will come to fight because there is like a social mobilization to defend their tribe, to support their tribe, to support their idea. Not that only one. The kids, they will come because of looting and what we call it in Sudan, shapshapa. That is one of the main because the kids, they join that group. If they fight and then they loot, it belongs to them. It is not to to RSF. They can take it back home. So that's also encourage people on that. The same thing has happened the rebels, the joint forces who are supporting the alliance with the government of Sudan now, North Sudan. Also, if you look at them, the joint forces that will come from the rebels, you will find them also kids also with them. And they are coming not because there is salary, no, because also supporting social and tribal, they are supporting their groups on that. And then if they want to go to the war and then they gain some cars from the other part, then they will pay them. So it is the recruitment of the kids in this Sudan conflict, it has become matter of income and matter of employee opportunities. People they got jobs. Yes, they are getting jobs. So it is difficult that and that's and I don't know how it will. The first speaker he said that we need to talk to them. So you can talk with maybe both Sudan, and you can talk with whatever Mohammed Hamdan or his people. But the issue is these kids they are under another administration. They are under another group who controlling them. If you look at the alliance of the government of Sudan who are working with them, this Islamist group, whatever the popular resistance. They're making popular resistance in each town, in each place. So they are also encouraging kids that them, and then government give them some support, and they go and work, and then they give. It is matter of money for them because it's not matter of that one. I don't know how to do this unless the two conflict party they stop the war, and then should be a clear accountability on their head, on their commanders. Because what happened in Abuja agreement, in Juba agreement, nothing is done because everyone, the international community, they know that kids were being recruited, but no one asked them. Even in the recruitment, when they come to the integration, when they come, I know that international community, some of the UN country team, like UNICEF, whatever you are talking about, when they go, that some of the rebels commanders or the group commanders, what they will do, they said, oh, okay, we have child soldiers in our groups. They collect, they just make announcement, they mobilize the kids from the school, they bring them in, in the distant place, and they call, okay, this is our child soldiers. They are kids just from school because they want to benefit for the fund that is given by the UN country team who's supporting that one. So it is, I don't know how to do it, but it is a very serious issue, and people, they look on it and as unique, and we need to find another way for the normal guidelines that it's go. We need to develop that one. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Mr. Khalil. And thank you again for this a good point. I think there's a big challenges in Sudan. It is economic, not education and not everything. I hear sometimes some stories. Some mothers and fathers lost the jobs, and they sent child with I think that time is 12 years old. This is a big challenge, I think. I see Dr. Adib.
Yeah, thank you, Patrick, for the great presentation and the insight along with your experience in different countries and different conflicts, including Sudan. I agree with you and the comment that Khalil talked about. Education is so important. When the children, they don't have where to go, so the recruitment became more easier, and I think we need to find a way of that. I agree with Khalil what he's talking about, but still, when there's no education for 3 years, for 4 years, for 5 years, for 20 years, for 40 years, I think that represents a great challenge and a great motive for the children to go. And I think the children and the parents, they don't see the value of life. Second, the issue of economic, I wholly agree with Khalil about how this became a revenue, not only for the children themselves, but also for the families and the outlaw that is going is taking place. I agree with you, Patrick, on the issue of the birth certificate. For us, we know, but for those institutions that determined the age of the people of the children, that that remain a big challenge, because we can claim, and then without birth certificate, that will still remain a greater challenge. Yet and still, we don't have the mechanism of getting a birth certificate for every single child across different parts of Sudan. I think there is a foundational need or a fundamental need for a homegrown solution for such phenomena. We can depend on the UN, we can depend on the international organizations, we can depend on regional organizations, and there is no lack of laws that prohibit such phenomena of recruiting children. Even the religious law, whether it is in Islamic law that is unacceptable, that is forbidden, if in Christianity it is one and the same, in across different religious laws it is the same. So there is no lack of laws and norms that forbid this kind of phenomena. And with this, I think there is a foundational need to come together to see a homegrown solution that can bring together the rebel groups in general, the government, the parents, teachers, religious leaders. Everybody who has to say this is wrong has to intervene and has to come with a solution for these kids. We have seen children in other countries, they go to school, they have innovation, they have things value for life. Why not our children in Sudan? And if we depend just on these narratives, I think this kind of war will be told for a long time. So what I'm suggesting here is to come up with homegrown solution for this phenomena. Regardless, we take these children as children, regardless of which ethnic group that they belong to, which direction they were born in, which society they are coming from, and with no any kind of discrimination. Children are children anywhere and everywhere. Thank you so much, Patrick, for this great presentation.
Thank you, Dr.
Hello,
Adib.
good evening.
Yes, who speak?
Uh,
Not see,
okay,
can't see.
you have to complete,
Okay,
and after that, I'm not raising my hand. You have to complete, and after that, I will
okay,
start.
no problem. No problem. Go
Okay,
ahead.
thank okay, thank you, everyone. Good evening. I think this is a good topic that we discuss about it, and also I have some comment that I want to say. Well, just is depend on the education system that we want to see it as a Sudanese young people. Also, me, I am expected my study at university. I'm not graduated, but till now, according to this pamphlet, and education system will be out of service. And this is big problem that of the challenge that exactly I face it right now. And I'm not alone. There's a lot, but I want to say that how we can make a solution for this problem and also to be education in safe and all children can find the education because I think this is more important. And if we lose the education system, I think that it means that we lose generation and the next generation. I think that is difficult that to have it, and also our country go down. And and the main question that I want to say, what is the the solution for this problem or this issue? And a second that how we can do as a young people, for example, we are in that fault and we are not have a law out of service. How we can live with this situation? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Noor. Uh, I'm not seeing hands here. Okay. I'm
May
not
I
seeing
say
hands.
something?
No. Oops.
Maybe
May
you
I
can
say
give Patrick
something?
the floor.
Okay, okay. You're welcome,
Um,
Patrick.
Yes, the two speakers who have talked about the unique situation of Darfur and the pattern of recruitment. As Dr. Deep has just said, we need to have a homegrown solution to that. The UN Security Council resolution will not solve that problem. An international legal framework will not solve that problem if it's ingrained within the culture and traditions of the people. So it becomes important that through organizations such as People to People, bring us together and we say, we have this problem here. You see, the parent may be seeing the economic benefits that they get from the child being associated, but they don't understand the psychological burdens placed on this child, the kind of psychological damage that happens to the child while associated. So, if they are made to understand, I don't think there's any parent who will trade the well-being of his or her child for economic benefits. But it becomes very, very important that people understand what the impact of child soldiering is on the individual child in different perspectives, so that the father or the mother understands that if the child gets associated, these are the repercussions. And it becomes very difficult for a parent to say, oh, the economic well-being of the family is more important than the health and the mental health and physical health of the child. So this requires us at the grassroots to come together, and we can actually delve into the kind of experiences that these children go through and the consequences of that, and then tell the parents, this is the situation. That way, with that kind of understanding, it will be very difficult for such parents to let children become associated with armed forces and armed groups. But we need to come up with a homegrown solution, sitting at the community level and bringing all of us together to discuss this. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Patrick. Also, again, I'm not seeing hands raised up here. Dr. Adib, you have something to say?
I
Or
ask Sir Patrick. Hello?
okay, go ahead.
Okay, just for Mr. Patrick, you mentioned that in South Sudan there was been like 4,000 kids in the recruitment. If you look at the Sudan situation now, you will find more than 50,000, 60,000. And because some of them they are recruited, now they are kids in the schools and they lost the education opportunity and now they become. So what is you seeing that? What is the best project for this huge number can be integrated in the community? Because I know UN, they don't have that much fund to do this kind of things. So do you think that the vacation training schools, the engineering schools, they have it before that is can help? Or what kind of project that, because this is a big number, it is almost like 67,000 kids. How can we integrate them in the community, and how can we prevent that this number is not going to be like the main source for another conflict? If anyone he just raise up a conflict, he cannot use them again. Thanks.
That number of 50, 60,000, that's really, really huge. The numbers that the UN is dealing with at the moment, the highest I've seen for Darfur has been 6,000. When I was in South Sudan, we were talking about 16,000 children associated with armed forces and armed groups. When I was talking of the issue of 4,000, is that we released 2,000, but because we want also to intervene with other children who are conflict affected, even though they were not associated, we bring them together so that serves as an opportunity or a strategy to prevent recruitment of children. But now, when we are talking about the numbers of 50, 60, that is huge. And that becomes something that the community has to sit down and say, unless we do something now, this is a problem that is going to balloon into the future. And that's why organizations like People to People, which are working at the grassroots, can start addressing these concerns at that level. But the issue of vocational training is very, very important, that children or these youths are given skills that allows them to be able to generate some income for themselves and for the family. But the thing is, the economy or the environment in which they are reintegrating also should be able to support that kind of those kinds of interventions. So it becomes very, very important that a proper mapping, opportunity mapping, is carried out in the area where you want to do this reintegration, and then work at the community level to address the specific needs of the children in that particular community. Over.
Thank you, Dr. Patrick. There is someone who want to speak? I'm not seeing hands also. Okay. Dr. Adib? Yes? Okay. I think no one is want to talk again. I want to close the...
Awatif, yes, Awatif,
Yes?
let me to give some of the jokes to the audience here.
Okay.
Just for you that you know what's happened in Darfur during the border guard, the border
Mhm.
guard recruitment. Okay, doctor is coming in. I will leave.
Okay. Okay, you can leave, and after Siddiq Tibin he speak, you can speak. Mr. Siddiq, you will come.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. I talking by Arabic. السلام عليكم، مرحبا بك مستر باتريك، ومرحبا دكتور أديب عبد الرحمن والزملاء. مرحبا بك زميلتي عواطف إسحاق وكل الحضور. أنا بس في الحقيقة يعني الورشة من الأهمية هي واحد من أهم القضايا المحورية جدا، والتي يعني يحظى باهتمام كبير. لكن سؤالي لمستر به لإيقاف هذه ظاهرة تجنيد البلاد في ظل استمرار الحرب واستمرار الاصطفاف القبلي والأيديولوجي في المنطقة. شكرا جزيلا.
Thank you, Mr. Siddiq. This question is to Dr. Patrick. He says, how can we stop these child soldiers, and war is still in Sudan? Mr. Khalil, you can take your chance. After that, can Dr. Patrick answer
Okay.
this question?
I just want to make that joke. You know, when they're during the border guard recruitment, they said that one of the community leaders, hello, one of the community leaders, he decide because he have the list and he have the authority to list the people that should be recruited and paid. So he have his youngest wife is get pregnant and is going to get birth. So he assumed that the newborn kid will be a boy. He give the name and he registered and he send it with the list. And you know, because they are giving them salary. When the list is come and it's confirmed by the government, whatever is there, and when the woman bring birth, it was a girl. So yeah, so it's come a girl. So for him it's a serious difficult issue. How can he raise it? How can he address that one? So whatever he did, that's the information I have. He is still continue with that name. So that girl have a name in the community that is a female name, that is a girl, she was known. But in the border guard on the government side officially she have a boy name, so because her father can continue to get that salary or that revenue for that. So this is a lot of it. Yeah. They're saying that sometimes they bring an old man is a wheelchair, they are moving him so they come to get his salary. So it is a matter of it's a matter of economic issue. Really, it's an economic issue. And I agree with Mr. Patrick that we need to do grassroots work with the community and with the ethnic groups and the tribal leaders to tell them that what is the consequences of child recruitment and how can it affect the growth of the community in the future. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Patrick, Mr. Siddiq, Dr. Patrick, sorry. Mr. Siddiq have a question.
Yes. I think when I was doing my presentation, I said release of children should not wait for formal peace agreements. Where a child has been identified within a group or an armed force, within the armed forces or the armed groups, we need to enter into a dialogue with the parties to make sure that these children are released. But we also have to take into account when we are releasing these children, where are they going to? Are they going into a community that is still at war with itself, where the child will not be safe? Or do we keep the child in the interim care center for a longer period of time? But according to international legal frameworks, we do not have to wait for the guns to fall silent for children to be released from armed forces and armed groups. This has to be a continuous exercise. So it needs a grassroots approach, and it also needs dialogue directly with the leadership of the armed forces and the armed groups. Over.
Okay, thank you. I think we have just 5 minutes again and we finish this meeting. Are you someone want to ask question? What to Mr. Patrick? Okay. If it's no one, I can finish this meeting. I want to thank all participation and Dr. Patrick and all the participants, and thanks for sharing this good point and new information about ending child recruitment and rebuilding children's lives in Sudan. And we need to put hands together to make a better life for children in Sudan. And also thank you for your time, and thank you a lot. But this is not last one for talking about this issue. We need a lot time, and we want to know how we put solution for Sudan, because we see the increasing for child soldiers every day. Thank you all, and we wish you a good day. Bye.
Thank you and bye-bye.
Thank you. باي. شكرا عواطف.
Bye.
شكرا دكتور أديب. شكرا
Okay,
بوقت
thank you, Dr.
عواطف.
Patrick. We see you again, inshallah.
Thank you.
عواطف كيف حالك يا أخ؟ تمام؟
شكرا لكم يا أديب والجماعة كلكم، نتقابل في ساحة تانية. تسلم.
يا شكرا جزيلا. أنا طبعا الإنترنت هنا عندي فيه مشكلة.
أي طلعت ودخلت.
فابتداء شكرا جزيلا يعني thank you so much Patrick and all dear participants for coming together to this unique topic. I look forward to come together very soon and we propose something that can prevent this from happening. And we cannot wait until everything coming by itself. We don't want this to become a phenomena. If we wait it, the more we wait it, it will be a phenomena, and then it would be difficult, if not impossible, to change behavior. So I think now is the time for us to think as parents, as brothers, as sisters, in order to take these children out of there. We understand that in some culture, people they believe that everybody has to fight, but we are looking for a bright future for the children, and this really want a courage from us to talk to everybody, because all those people that they are claimed to be leaders, their children are somewhere else in a very safe, protected, well educated places. Why not they allow other children to be in the front, to die, to lose their life, to get a miserable life, and so. And I think with this kind of narrative, we can address this issue to a larger audience. Those guys who are insisting on fighting, if they have any kind of wisdom, let them bring their children to be in the front line. Let's focus also on issues of education for every child, and we can work it out by our own initiative. This could be something we can start it. We can start it small, and then it can grow up. And I don't think we have to wait until the United Nations or the Security Council to come to get a certificate for every child in Sudan or everywhere else. So that we cannot wait for this. We now we knew the challenges, and we have to come with an alternative or countering these challenges. We need to come with a solution for this problem, and we need to have the courage to put this in the front of the agenda. We don't want to repeat the example of the LRA, somebody who get there as a child and became a commander, and then he was sentenced for something else. So I think it is our moral responsibility, and I'm calling it moral responsibility, to work together to end this and to create a bright future for every child across different parts of Sudan. With this, thank you so much, dear Patrick. I look forward to see you in the near future. I will be back in Kampala next week, and for all participants, let's come together. Let's share ideas. Let's share some thoughts on how we can counter this and bring this phenomena to mitigate it and to bring it to an end. Thank you so much, and looking forward for the next coming event. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Dr. Adib, and thank you all. I think some people sleep because you have something wrong in your phone or network, because I closed it the session.
Thank you.
Thank you.